Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Social Housing Introductory with myself and Heather Mortimer, my very good friend and close colleague. Say hi, Heather.
Hello, everyone.
Fabulous. So we both, Heather and I, we teach the social housing course. We've both been involved in teaching a social housing course for the last 4 years, and we've both over 10 years experience each, so 20 years in experience plus in actually working with social housing people. And we're going to tell you all about the social housing online course that we provide for you guys, should you want to get involved. But before we do that, would it be useful if we told you a little bit about ourselves? I think perhaps Heather can go first and tell you all about Heather, and then I'll come in after. So Heather, over to you.
Thank you. Well, thanks very much, Neil. And yeah, it's lovely to meet everyone out there. And congratulations again for coming on the course. So a little bit about me. I've been involved in property many years ago, regions of 15, 20 years. And it's actually been through a rough patch in life, through divorces, through bereavement, that I came across education. So it was like coming out of school, doing your college degrees, and then getting into floristry, bookkeeping. But I found my soul was in property. So I've been in the property journey with 2 small boys. So my family is 2 boys, an 18 and a Liam. And from there, I became more and more involved, like buying small buy-to-lets, moving on to flips, going on to more commercial, more HMOs. So my portfolio has expanded. The lovely thing about my portfolio now is it's well secure in social housing arena, which I'm going to explain to you further down the line, how my profits gradually every single month. Now, from that, I've educated myself to be a 3-day speaker with an education company on social housing, all the tips, the golden nuggets that you will get taught. I've also had my own portfolio leading on to having a letting agency and organising a letting agency for 10 years. The back end of that, I had a sourcing company, so I've done all the sourcing work as well. And then I had a maintenance company, but my passion wasn't always just there. So I decided to sell up these businesses and go out there and give back to students or individuals who wanted to learn about property and also wanted to learn about social housing. So that's where I am in my path at this moment. I also have a partner that I'm due to get married in July. So hopefully after the virus, I will be married. And I also do a lot of work for charities. I've had a bit of bad bereavement in my past. So I give back to quite a lot of charities, which is the British Heart Foundation, going back into the cancer, any aspect of cancer. And just now I'm on a mission for dementia. I may look at the end of the day young and trendy, haha, but I have ran over 200 half marathons and 10 full marathons. I've also walked Kilimanjaro, and I've also walked Ben Nevis in Scotland 9 times. So I'm going to give you back to Neil, and that'll give you a little bit of inspiration of where I am in my life.
Thank you, Heather. Young and trendy, and a marathon runner she is, definitely. Fabulous. So me, Neil Stewart, who am I? What am I all about? Well, my background is initially I joined the army straight from school, became a telecommunications and electronics engineer specialist, and spent a good 14 years in the Royal Corps Signals. But I was very fortunate that I didn't actually have to get involved in any conflict, which was lovely. At the end of my time in the army, I decided I wanted to get out of the army and set up my own IT company where I specialized in providing support for small businesses, primary schools, and a lot of work for the police, which I was doing again for probably about 12 or 13 years. But then I found, for those of you who are self-employed as well yourself, that if I didn't work, I didn't earn any money. So I was worried about, what happens if I was ill, or if I decided I wanted to retire, I couldn't actually earn any money. That's when I decided I was going to try and get involved in property. Now, back then, property was all over the news. It was the best thing to do, so it was easy to do. So myself and my father, by the way, has no experience in property at all. We just decided it might be a good idea. My father still has no real experience in property other than this. We bought a flat and we rented the flat out from a brand new build. And we very quickly learned that was a big mistake, and we ended up losing £500 a month. So that's when we decided, or I decided, I needed to learn how to do this properly. Otherwise, I was going to be very, very bankrupt very, very quickly. So I went along, did some training, learned how to do it properly, learned from the best out there, which is what we're all taught to do and we teach to do. Go and find out from people that made the mistakes and they'll get you there quicker. Within a very quick period of time, 2 years for me it was, I got to the point where I had enough property income to replace the income I was earning from my day job or my IT company, and I managed to stop. At that point, the organization that trained me, and the same organization that trained Heather, asked us both to come back and become mentors and coaches and speakers for them. So that's what we do now. We also mentor, coach, and speak for other organizations and help them and help new people coming through by giving them our experience and helping them accelerate their learnings. One of the other things I do also is I have my own lettings agency. And I know Heather had a letting agency as well. Back in the day when I started to invest, I wanted to be able to control my own properties because I wasn't so confident in the agents around me. They were being able to do a good job for me. So I did my own, and then eventually that grew into other people coming to me and saying, would you look after our properties for us? Because we know you know what you're doing. And that became the agency that we have now. One of the other things I also do, and one of the things I love to do, is I love to help other youngsters. So I work or I volunteer for the Prince's Trust, which is an organisation over here in the UK that helps youngsters up to the age of 24 that maybe didn't have a great start in life or a great education, but they then want to do something with their life. Perhaps they want to set their own businesses up. So one of the things I do is I commit to these youngsters. These youngsters have never had anybody commit to them in their life, or they've had to be the responsible adult in a relationship or in a family where perhaps the parents have been absent. And having someone like myself commit to them for 2 years and help them and encourage them is brilliant. And they're fabulous, fabulous youngsters. They're so energetic and it's really good fun. It's something that I really enjoy. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit about Heather. We have got a fabulous course for you. And during the course, we're going to cover 4 or 5 areas. And what we'll do now is we'll go through each of those areas briefly with you and tell you all about those areas and what you can expect. So the first area is building relationships, and I'm going to hand you over to Heather to tell you about that.
Thank you, Neil. So yes, it's very much in the early days in 2008 when I opened up my letting agency, and we had the financial crash. So in the January of that year, my lawyer says, don't panic, Heather. You'll have lots of tenants because unfortunately through crises there will be a volume of divorces, separations, etc. And that is exactly what happened. So that was my very first key on working with someone who understood the legal side of separations and divorces. So at that stage, my business started to grow. While it was growing, I was doing networking events. I was out there speaking to different people. I came across an organisation and it was Women's Aid. It was about domestic abuse. And along I went and I chatted to them, and it became a part that I realised that they had one part of a jigsaw and I had another part of a jigsaw. So they had females that was coming through just the domestic abuse side and needed security, needed nice homes, etc. And I had nice homes, reasonable rents, in good areas, local communities, local schools, nurseries for the children. So I then said to them, can we work together? Now, it wasn't just because it was a domestic abuse I wanted to work with. I wanted to work with as many organisations as I could. I realised from an early stage, unless you go face to face or you have a power team that is willing to go that extra mile from your desktop at the office and go and approach these people, they won't come to you because they don't understand what we are doing. That was my first step moving into dealing with social housing tenants. And that worked really, really well. I took the chairwoman, I took her to one of the properties, I showed her exactly what the tenant would get or the family. I explained the housing regulations, I explained all the forms that have to be complied, and I was giving them a start back in life. Now, that worked for me on a 6-month contract, and then I moved them on to a year contract, and then we sat down and we worked at a 3-year contract. So my take on that was, if I can do that with one organisation, how many other organisations can I work with? So off Heather goes again, and I meet a meeting at Glasgow Council. And I did the exact same thing. I spoke to who I had to speak to, the housing officer. I said, you're advertising all these people in these homes. Let's work together. Let's build a partnership up. and well, let's call it social housing partnership. And let's see how many other organisations I can have up in Scotland that is willing to work with this. Well, that was the start of a win-win situation in building relationships, because I became the person that everybody came to and says, how do you get a 3-year contract? How do you get a 5-year contract? And how does the council pay for some grants to us? Now, going back all those many years ago, it's now becoming apparent that we have a crisis now. We've got homeless people out there, domestic abuse on both sides. We have young offenders, we have young children between say 17 and maybe 25. It's now leaving homes. They don't go on with the mother's new partner, or the other way around. Whatever way you look at. So these are the young kids, and as Neil Hindley spoke about it, he works with a trust of young boys, young girls as well. So it's like giving back to these youngsters another start in life. Could be rent guarantees. So again, unless I was prepared to get out and tell them what we did, there was nothing going to come to my desk. So I built lots of relationships up. I did say we could take it UK. I've proved we've taken it UK. We do it all up and down the UK, We work with numerous amount of organisations. So yes, it's about building a power team around your business and taking as much advantage of that as you can. And that is a win-win for you as a landlord, because you're completely then hands off. So if you know anyone out there that's in situations like that, think of the charity behind it. Think about asking that organisation. So these are just little nuggets that we will be throwing in on our course, Neil and I, as we go forward.
Absolutely. So building relationships is something that you must do and must be part of your involvement, but we can also teach you how to get other people to build you those relationships for you. What about the demand for social housing? So we're teaching this course, we're teaching people how to get involved with social housing, but really one of the things you need to know is there a demand for social housing? Are there enough people out there that want it? Well, right now it is massive. I'm not sure where you are or where you're watching this video at the moment, but certainly in the UK, it is huge. There is not enough property or housing for people that need it, people that are in special situations. Perhaps they are out of work, perhaps they can't work for whatever reason. They need somewhere to live. And in the UK, for the last 5, 10, 20 years, we have not been building enough property to house these people. So as a result, private landlords like yourself, myself, as Heather, we are helping the councils, the governments, the charities, the organisations, providing them with safe, good, clean housing to help these vulnerable people. And they are offering some amazing contracts and some amazing terms and conditions, which we'll talk about in a moment. But basically, whether you go to the UK at the moment, and UK is split into 4 small areas, really. So you've got England, you've got Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. And each of those areas all have a huge demand for their individual needs and the people. At the moment, we're seeing a huge amount of people in strange scenarios. We have this scenario where at the moment there are what we call key workers, people that have to go to work to help with the crisis the whole world's in at the moment, and they can't actually go home because they may be transmitting this disease or this virus that they have to their home. So they're actually needing places to stay again. So us private landlords are helping those people out. So the demand is absolutely huge, and we predict and we see this is going to grow and grow and grow over the years. Now, how can you tap into that demand, and what can you get from it, and how can you utilize that, in particular as a hands-free investment strategy? So Heather's going to tell you all about the hands-free investment strategy and how you can use it for your advantage.
Thank you. Hands-free scenario. When I started up in NL Properties way back in 2008, and I told you the story about working with the lawyer, I then opened up a sourcing company. Now, what I had was investors coming from Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, Paris, anywhere in the world was coming over to the UK to be educated. So the opportunity I seen was we had investors on one hand, and we had properties working with the councils on the other hand. And I just began to work between the both of them. So that really brought my sourcing business to a phenomenal amount. Because every time I spoke to someone, they were always looking for a house, which meant I had to go and then build a sourcing agent to build up the clients. Now, when I speak about customers or clients, maybe in Hong Kong or Australia, wherever, they're hands off. Okay? So how it works is they either do their education, they get really involved with your power team, which is a really, really good sourcing agent. So there's a really good business out there for sourcing agents at the present moment. They find the properties, we match them, a little matchmaking game, we match them with the person who wants to buy it. I also match them with the organisation I feel it's better for them. Now, the reason I say that is not all the organisations work to the same terms and conditions. Most of them will give you the same local rent that you would be getting. Some might be a little bit less. Some might only want a 1-year contract just to try you out to see how you are as a landlord. Others are willing to give you a longer contract, or you as a landlord is happy to take a longer contract. So when I started my journey, I started on a 1-year contract. Then I moved it to a 3-year. Then I moved it to a 5-year. Now I'm sitting on 10 years contracts. Now, as a landlord, that gives me lots of free time to build my other businesses. It gives me lots of security to know that my social housing money coming in from the government, coming in from one of the councils, coming in from a charity is being paid every single month without a problem. There is 3 people in this. There's going to be you as investor, you're going to have a power team at the back of you, and you're also going to have a charity. Now, that charity works very closely with that tenant. So as Neil has said, he's got a letting agency, but he's got a barrier. He doesn't have to work one-to-one with the tenant. So Neil can move his business on a daily basis, because the agents and the local housing, or the charities you're dealing with, it's their care and their responsibility to look after the tenant. That is who you have your lease with. So there's lots of good reasons why I just love working with social housing. Now, Neil did speak about a little bit about the shortages in houses, and I fully understand that. We don't build enough houses. We've just managed to take off all this homelessness that's been on the streets for years. We've managed to put them into houses or hotels or accommodation, whether it be Airbnbs, whatever the government have. They have now realised they've got an issue. They've now housed them. Where are they going to go after this virus is finished? This is more opportunities for you as a landlord to be buying properties, working with your power team, which is obviously your sourcing agent or your letting agency, or someone that understands the charities who are willing to work with you. So again, as I said, it's a win-win for everyone. You have to work very, very close with your power team. You have to be very, very close at building the relationship, whether you're in Australia, whether you're in New Zealand, whether you're anywhere in the world. Your key people is either your coach, your mentor, your sourcing agent. These are the people that's going to build your business going forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. And hands-free investment, as Heather's saying, is one of the big things at the moment that is making a big difference to both of us in our portfolio. We have at the moment what's going on. There's the coronavirus is happening around the world at the moment. And actually, there are a lot of people that are being put out of work, put out of jobs. They can't afford the rents. They can't afford to pay. There is some government help coming out, but not everybody's getting caught in that net that the government's trying to help with. Whereas Heather and I have tenants who are either on contracts or social housing, and their money is still coming into our portfolio. So both Heather and myself and other investors that we know and we've trained and we've coached are all quite comfortable at the moment, because the money's still coming in to pay their mortgages and is still putting money on their table. So actually their income is very, very little impact at all. So having that hands-free and having that money coming in every month is fabulous. So that leads on to one of the other things that we were talking about, and that's another part of the course, and that's working with the government and organisations. So the majority of social housing or people that are in need come through organisations of one sort or the other. Now in UK, there are lots of organisations that you can work with. And what you need to do is you need to get your power team, your team over here in the UK, or in the different, if you're in England, in Wales or in Scotland, wherever your properties, your investment properties are, you need them to be able to manage everything for you and to take care of everything for you so that you don't have to actually worry about it. Right now, and again, you've probably all experienced the lockdown situation, but with the lockdown situation, I can't go to my properties. I can't even go to the letting agency that's looking after my properties. But my letting agency is classed as key worker, and they're out there, they're looking after my tenants and taking care of things. I don't even have to get involved other than a phone call now and again to talk to them and check everything's okay. So all of this is kind of hands off, but it also the government are paying my bills and paying my mortgage lovely for me every day, every week, every month. And my power team is the biggest part of that. You know, having a situation where we've handed over a property to an organisation that is going to pay me rent every single month, regardless of whether it's being used or not. See, part of the contract is that they pay me regardless of whether they use it. So they might take it on. For example, we've got one of our students that we know has a property where he has boys, a boys' home taken it over from him. The boys' home has a certain number of boys every so often that they need to house. Well, they don't have the house full all the time. Sometimes they have one boy, sometimes they have 6 boys. And actually, doesn't matter how many boys are in that property, he is still going to get the same amount of money every single month for that property, regardless of what's happening. So that property, he's happy. They actually pay him £4,000 a month for that property. How would you like £4,000 a month into your bank account every single month? Heather, how do you like that? That's nice, isn't it? Oh, we'd love that, wouldn't we?
I call that business.
That's good business. So that's the kind of thing we'll teach you, and having that power team and that organisation, your letting agency, your management team, and all of the things involved for you. And again, all your maintenance costs covered and looked after by somebody else. So there are just one other section that we talk about and we want to cover on the course, and that's things that your landlord responsibilities. Now, throughout the UK, there are different landlord responsibilities in different areas. So Heather will talk a little bit about what the responsibilities are up in Scotland. There's responsibilities in Wales, there's responsibilities in England. But no matter where you are, there's one responsibility that's very, very important that everybody has, and that is to make sure that the property is safe from the gas appliances that are fitted. And every single year you have to have your property tested and checked to make sure everything's okay. If it's not okay, it needs to be put right, because that is a criminal offence in this country if you don't have that situation every single year. So that's across the board. However, there are slight differences. So in Scotland, for example, Heather will tell you a little bit about the landlord responsibilities in Scotland.
Very true, Neil. The responsibilities in Scotland are the exact same responsibility in the whole of the UK. Please don't think that social housing is an easy option. Social housing is thriving. Social housing will put money in your bank account. But you have as a responsibility, you're going into a new business, treat it like your own, this is your own business, you have responsibility. So yes, we do have gas safeties, we do have EPCs, we do have PAT testing, we do have Legionnaire's disease as well, that we have to get tested, the properties have got to be tested for that. So these are just normal things that you would do as an investor, whether you're buying a normal baby buy-to-let, as I would call them, you're buying an HMO or you're buying a commercial. You're responsible. Now, one of the things I will talk to you on just now is the insurance. All my properties are all insured. They've all been insured from day one, so I have never had an issue with insurance. And that's another topic that Neil and I will explain when we go forward. So because you're going out there and it's a social housing contract you have or a charity contract, you can get insurance. There's no difference from the leases on that one as well. So yeah, just look at it. It's your business. It's a buy-to-let. It's the exact same responsibilities. And again, take it straight back to your sourcing agent. So before you purchase the property, whether you're purchasing it just as an HMO and it's nothing to do with social housing, you've got a list of responsibilities. And these responsibilities are the exact same as social housing. There's no difference.
Absolutely. So landlord responsibilities are very important. And although you can put these out to other people to work on, you can hand this responsibility to somebody else to look after, it is still your responsibility to make sure that they're done. For example, the gas safety certificate that Heather talked about and the electrical safety certificates, they have to be done annually. And you can just diarize that, put it in your diary, Outlook if you use Outlook or one of the calendars, Google Calendars, put it in there each year just to pop up and tell you, have you had the certificates done this year? You can drop an email or a phone call to your local agent that's looking after it, or if it's an organization that you've handed it over to for 5-10 years. Hi, Mr. Agent, Mr. Organization, have you actually done this certificate this year? Please, can you send me a copy just so I've got it for my records and to make sure I am compliant with the regulations. So all of those things can be done. And again, we will cover all of those things on the course, telling you what your responsibilities are. And as us both having been, or Heather being a letting agent, myself am a letting agent owner, then we are quite up to speed with what's going on. And actually, we can give you right up to the moment. It's always changing. There's always new things coming out. There's always new legislation. And we'll keep you up abreast on how to find out about that legislation, just to make sure you're keeping yourself safe and also keeping your clients safe, which is effectively your tenants. What we're all about on the social housing course, and the biggest thing about the social housing course, Heather and I see people come to the social housing for 2 reasons. One of them is they want a hands-free scenario where they don't want to have to worry about trying to find tenants, managing anything at all. It's all hands-free. And the other one is that people love to give back. There are a lot of people that have been in bad situations, have been in trouble, have had to reach out and ask for help in these organizations. Heather has, and herself, and a lot of my tenants have, and a lot of the people we work with, and they actually are now in a better position themselves and want to help other people. So why not have a win-win situation? Why not have a situation where you can earn some money and they can have that safe environment, clean and nice and tidy to look after and to live in for themselves and take pride in it? One of the things we find the most of is that when a tenant moves into one of these properties, they don't ever want to leave. They love it. They want to look after it. They turn it into their home. They treat it as their home. They have families in the area. They grow up in the area. I have tenants in some of my properties in Wales, don't even own a passport, never been out of the country. They live there all their life, all their family live around them, and they are very happy, very content, and all they want is someone to give them the opportunity to live somewhere nice and safe. So effectively, that's a very brief introductory or intro into what we're going to do on the social housing course and what we're going to teach you. There's a lot more to it than that, and we cover it all in depth. Heather and I, as I've said before, we have been doing this for a long time now, and we really are passionate about what we do. We enjoy this, and we love the fact when people come back to us and say, thank you very much for giving me a home and somewhere to live that's safe. So we look forward to seeing you in the courses going forward. If you really want to get involved and you really want to make this a passive income, money coming into your bank account without having to do any work after the initial setup, then why not click on the link or drop us a message and we'll get back to you with how to join us. So Heather, see you later on the next training. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.